Welcome to the Elissa Goodman Show, a show dedicated to interviewing game changers in the health and wellness community. And today I have Joanna Garzilli. She is known as America's Intuition Coach, and she is incredible at helping people achieve their ultimate success. So lucky me, I have known her for years off and on, and now I get to interview her. Welcome.
Thank you, Elissa. It's amazing to be here. And when I think about how I am here with you now, is a few years back, I went through some burnout. I was not very good at reaching out for help from others. And I came across you through Cafe Gratitude because you were doing a signature cleanse for them.
Yep.
And I reached out to you from Sanctuary on Camelback at the resort there in Arizona.
Where
I'm from.
I guess you knew that at the time, right? You spiritually, intuition?
On some level, but
some level?
There's certain things where I don't remember what I ate the day before or what I did.
Right.
But I remember very clearly sitting out on the terrace there at Camelback.
Wow.
Looking through online, going, do I reach out to you? So I'm glad I did.
And I'm so glad you did too.
That was life-changing for me.
Thank you. Thank you. It was also life-changing for me to meet you and to read your book and experience some of the stuff you do, because I feel like it's so crucial in the health and wellness space is to really get in touch with your, intuition and your spiritual guides. And tell me more about, really what you do.
Well, yes. So intuition, I feel, is absolutely critical for oneself and being able to make those right choices in terms of relationship, in terms of career path, health, all of it. So for myself, I've always said that we all have intuition. It's just that we don't always listen to it or act upon it. Even after years of having done thousands of hours of sessions with people, teaching them how to trust their intuition,
right.
There were times when I still didn't listen to my own. But one thing I learned in the last year is that sometimes I would have a strong feeling through what I call clairsentience. You just know there's an intensity to the energy. And it wasn't that I wasn't listening to my intuition, but I didn't have the evidence to back up what I was feeling. So it was just incredibly uncomfortable. And so now I know when I feel very uncomfortable, stay with it. Don't suppress it through food, doing unhealthy things, making bad choices. Be with the energy, and then the evidence will reveal itself to one.
So will it reveal itself right away, or does sometimes it takes time, or it depends on each individual?
I've found if one can really be with the energy, it will reveal itself within 24 to 48 hours, if one can handle the discomfort.
That is so brilliant, Joanna, because I know that, people really can't handle the discomfort. So that is sort of what is driving them to not tune in, right? But I've never heard it put that way.
So it really affects the way one makes a choice, because if one wants to bypass feeling bad, then suddenly you're going to make a choice that isn't the best choice. And once one goes down that track of making poor choices, one poor choice upon the next poor choice, it's not like we can just obliterate that in one go. You have to sort of retrace and unravel that energy. Almost like if you had, I guess, a piece of string and you got it all tangled up. You have to undo those knots.
Right. And the farther you go down the road, the more you have to untangle.
Sometimes one could just sort of, with that analogy of string with knots, if there are so many knots in there, one has to sometimes just cut the cord, so to speak, and let go of that and start anew. So it really depends on a person's circumstance of if that line of that piece of string represented one's life, or different aspects of one's life, you could connect inwards and go, my life is a piece of string. Not that we just want to say one's life is a piece of string. But
a good analogy to relate to.
Yes, because one could close the eyes, go inwards and go, in relationship, say, with this specific person, in terms of my career path, in terms of my health, how many knots do I have in here? How tangled up are
Wow.
things. What do I need to do?
Right.
So you can have that invisible energy revealed, which normally that energy, as it builds more and more, then it comes into physical manifestation.
Right. And it starts with that. It
Yes.
starts with that energy.
Exactly.
So you had mentioned earlier in the interview about like just in the last year, you started feeling this uncomfortableness. Was it?
Oh, I'd felt discomfort
for years.
But
Okay.
what happened was I would suppress it, and I got
would
myself
even-
into stupid situations at times. I mean, in the past, I had definitely issues with food. For me, food was a very emotional thing. If I had just from childhood been okay with understanding that I was extremely sensitive and that wasn't a problem, and that sometimes when I felt other people's anxieties, fears, pain, I took it as if that person doesn't like me or they have an issue with me. Now, some people, I mean, not everyone can like you, but in
You
that,
took it on.
I took it on, made it mean something, and then would scramble or walk on eggshells to be
Make it
able
okay.
to. Exactly. So
So many people can relate to this.
I had a lot of issues where always dating the wrong type of person when I was younger, the need to look good, to move in the right social circles, making choices to fit in instead of going, I'm going to make this choice that actually is going to be best for my soul.
Wow, that is so important because I know how many people come to me and feel that way. Like they're sort of on like this treadmill and like they're just adding more knots to the rope or the string that they just don't even know how to backtrack and how to get off and where to start.
And then one of the things that happens is when there are that many knots,
Yeah.
denial kicks in and blame. It's easier to blame than
Right.
go, let me start to address this. Let me start to undo my own mess.
Right.
Sometimes I've found one ends up in a situation where other people are doing bad things to one because there was the lack of responsibility that was there, because suddenly then one is bringing in people into one's life who are sharks, who
Yeah.
don't necessarily have great morals because they're just very much in a survival mode.
Very true, and not healthy. No, that won't lead to any kind of ultimate health in their life. So tell me what you do exactly with clients. Do you work one-on-one? Do you work in groups? How does all that work? Because I know that my listeners would be fascinated to know maybe how to work with you.
Yes, so I do work in person, I work one-on-one, I do work in groups as well.
Okay.
There's something really powerful about the one-on-one work because I always find that there are these deeper lessons, these patterns that are revealed. I do what's called a life path reading, and it really looks at the bigger picture of a person's life, their purpose of why they're here, not just the day-to-day stuff. But with that, living in the real world, it's that balance of understanding how can you create that best life for oneself in all aspects of life and make sure that you're in service to others. I think if we are in service to others, then there is a fulfillment and a peace and a happiness that comes in. So those are the core things that I focus on. I also have for many years done psychic mediumship readings where I connect with loved ones on the other side. Sometimes that comes up as well.
Okay.
I'll look at, say, for example, in a life path reading, that's 5 to 10 years ahead, sometimes 20 years ahead. But then I'll do readings where it's, okay, what's happening in your year ahead? What is that forecast? It's sort of like how we forecast for the weather.
Right.
What is your spiritual forecast? And because nothing is set in stone, sometimes people get frightened. They think with a psychic intuitive reading, what's she going to say?
Right,
But,
I was thinking that.
yes, but it's things can be changed always. If we have denials, I will very gently point out those denials that often come through from a person's spiritual guide or guides. And then also from there, I plug a person into their own intuition. Think of it like you have a socket and you are the plug, And so I'll go, look, you need to plug in here.
Right.
It's dark here.
Right.
Here's where you go. So I help a person build their own connection to their intuition. That's what I do more when I'm doing coaching with someone, and I do
The
it
one-on-one. Do people get
Yes.
afraid of like that, the psychic reading of a year ahead? Because I know a lot of us talk about, do we really want to know what the future holds? But then we actually kind of do.
If you can prepare for, say, not so great weather.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's going to be
you look at
pouring
it like
with
that.
rain, and you know it's going to be pouring with rain, and you have an umbrella, and you have your Wellington boots and your rain jacket,
Right.
better that than getting soaking wet.
Right.
I think it is important to be able to, but the other side of that, you could say, well, if you're going in this direction, you're going to hit a terrible storm. So have you thought about going over here or here? And then you can sort of start to change the trajectory of your journey. I've also found that for some people, they say they want to know everything, they want to see everything, but what is required with that is change. So a lot of the time, someone will work with me when they're in extreme pain because they've tried everything else. Right, you know what I'm talking about. With people come to you as that sort of last resort. It's rare that someone is really proactive, but it is much better to be proactive, because then you can really quantum leap in being of service to others and creating that
better life for yourself.
That harmonious life.
Right,
exactly.
that you're looking for, and that's what they're looking for from you.
I feel sometimes when someone is ready or not ready.
Right.
Sometimes someone says to me they want coaching, but I know I need to do in-person healing with them.
And do you tell them that, I assume? Do you tell them that that's what it feels like?
Yes. I mean, I've had people where I say, look, this is the best pathway. They might get resistant, and then they come back 3-6 months later, a year later, and go, I'm ready now to do the work. Because I'm not fluffier on the surface. I'm Scorpio as well. It's like, let's get in there.
Right. And let's mix things up, and let me tell you what it's all about, right? It's like you don't hold back.
I don't hold back at all. But it always comes from a loving place.
Right.
Because I know from all the choices I made in my life, when at one point years ago, I remember going to see this psychic. I knew something was off in a relationship that I was in.
Yeah.
She told me, I can see you're not happy in your relationship. Really, you're better off done with it. And I knew that. But I went into such denial and freaked out because I was so codependent in that relationship. I stayed in another 2 years, and suddenly I went into massive debt. So I went from owning my home, having money in the bank, to losing my home and being absolutely overwhelmed. Yeah, and I just...
For not listening.
Because I didn't listen to that psychic.
And why didn't you listen?
Because I was really frightened.
You were afraid to make the change.
I was scared to make the change, because I also, at the core of that, it was, what if I never meet someone again who actually loves me or wants to be with me? So that was the the core issue. I'm unlovable.
So what about, when you're working with clients, do these things come up for yourself, like you were saying, you know, these issues of maybe not being lovable, or
in the past, very much so in the past.
Measuring up, or not now?
I used to be, many years ago, I was very much Caroline Meese's, the wounded healer archetype.
Yes.
Where I would maybe work with 3 people in a row, and they would, let's say they were all hairdressers that were dealing with relationship issues. And then they would go through positive change, and then I would see, oh, okay, let me put that into practice in my own life, and it would work. So, but now really I have resolved a lot of I'm very fortunate, happily married. I have a beautiful son. I used to have some issues with my parents, very tumultuous up and down. And again, I didn't realize I had a core issue of entitlement coming from a successful, well-off family, but I was surrounded growing up by other families who owned half of London. So there was always that
normal.
Yeah, so it was that keeping up with the Joneses, and that was one of my issues there. I would say that really I have worked through the majority of things. It doesn't mean I don't have problems sometimes. I'm learning how to bounce back faster and faster. And so that's beautiful. That's good.
Right. And such a beautiful thing to also teach your son, right? To be able to have you as a mom to be able to guide him.
We just opened a bank account for him. Yes, he is. We just opened a bank account for him, and I said, look, when you have this much money, do this like this, because I looked at my parents as an ATM. which is not good.
Right.
And so just to teach it. So again, I think it's when we take certain life lessons and go, okay, how can we pass this on to others?
Right. Absolutely. So your book has been fabulous. You're
in it as well. You are in Big Miracles.
I know.
Yes.
Are you thinking about what's your future hold with all of this?
Yes.
Another book?
Yeah. So the first one was Unleash the Psychic in You, How to Trust Your Intuition for Success. And we got Big Miracles, the 11 Spiritual Rules for Ultimate Success.
Right.
The next one is called Scarlett's Confession, Tales of a British Psychic.
Oh.
And it's sort of like Bridget Jones' Diary meets Sex and the City, with spiritual lessons in there, but it's fun.
Oh, I love it.
It's really,
I love
really
the
fun.
title. It grabs your attention.
Yeah, so it's
so that's
loosely based off of my sort of own experiences in life, and because I think sometimes people aren't ready to go in the deep end spiritually right away.
Right.
And
they want to dip their toe in.
Yes.
Do you find that with the clients you work? I mean, these days, I mean, this whole practice of spiritualness and intuition and teaching people how to like really fulfill their passion and their purpose seems to be talked about a lot. And so is business just on a boom because people are really wanting more? They're just thirsty for this information and this guidance from you?
I think that now it's become very, very trendy. When I started in this space, there weren't that many people that were really doing it.
True.
And now everyone and their mother is some type of psychic or coach or healer, and maybe they've done a weekend course. They have for me, I've worked with a number of notable names over the years.
Right.
For me, I would oftentimes develop courses from having first worked with clients one-on-one, and then my books came from there. So I think one has to be very careful, do one's due diligence, and look at how much experience does this person really have?
Right.
Who have they worked with? What sort of results have they got? Because the amount of people that come to me and say,
history do they have?
Yeah. It is important because, if I think back to, say, when I was 25 years old and doing readings and things, yes, it was good, but I didn't have the life experience and the thousands and thousands of hours that I'd done. I mean, you can't just hit it and be there with that. It does. Yeah. It's practice to be able to get those results. So I find that for me, it's I'm able to help someone get to a result much faster because of having walked the road already.
And the clients,
many times.
And the number of clients you've had, and what you've seen as results and how to get there. You're right. It's with anything. It's that practice. It's that being like sort of down in the dirt, really.
Someone that's going to phone up California psychics is not going to be the type of person to work with me.
No.
Because, am I going to win the lottery today?
Yeah.
Is it okay that...
Do you actually get those questions?
I did when I used to do a TV show that I hosted in the UK, which is called Psychic Interactive. I would have stuff like that. I'd say, get up, brush your teeth, have a shower, eat breakfast, maybe go for a walk. People would ask me, is it okay to have an affair? Or I think this person's having an affair, what do I do? They wanted the reading for justification.
Right.
And I think really you have to hold someone accountable, right, to be able to live in integrity with what is best for them. And that sometimes means tough love. So I believe in calling someone out. I've learned from many years ago in the past where I had a client who I worked with for many years, helped her become very, very successful in her field from behind the scenes in business, but she was in love with a married man. And I said to her, you are gorgeous, you are amazing.
You can get anybody you want.
And at first I really stuck to that, but over a period of time, I sort of wore it and I just said, well, okay, I didn't hold my ground on it.
Right.
And I just wished from the get-go, I had just said, look, if you don't address this, and I will help you to the best of my ability move on from this, then I can't work with you anymore. So...
Can you say what the end result was?
The end result actually at the time was she got really upset because she couldn't let
have
go.
It all? Have it all, like you and him and
So it was a tough lesson. So I know now when someone starts to project something onto me, I'm having none of it.
Right. Right, you stop it in its
with
tracks.
someone that I was, yes. I mean, I've had it where I've worked with someone and they say, oh, they're not going a certain direction. I've said, I'm not the person to help you anymore. I can't.
Right.
I warned you of this.
So smart.
It's just because otherwise then one gets sucked into the chaos and the drama.
Right.
And I feel that drama is meant to be kept on stage and screen, not in life.
Behind the
and I
scenes in
was
life,
the drama queen.
Right.
So
growing up, you were always like that was
times,
yes. I guess I can relate to you there. That was me too. But like these days, a lot of people are seeking out, guidance and help. And I know for myself, I do the same thing. And sometimes I seek it out to relieve like me from doing probably some of the inner work that I really need to sit with and be uncomfortable in. Do you find that a lot? Do you feel like they're looking to answers for you where they don't really have to?
What I found out years ago when I was doing readings and always just giving answers, a lot of the time I will see certain things, but I know to ask the right question.
Okay.
And if someone is still really, really stuck and I feel they are receptive enough, then I will give them the answer. Sometimes it might take, let's say if I'm coaching with someone, it might take several sessions and then the energy unravels, it unblocks, hence why I do a mixture of, say, coaching or healing. It just, I mix it up.
Right.
And then it's like a download will come through from their higher self or from their spiritual guides, and literally everything is mapped out. And then all they have to do is just follow that guidance. If they stick to it, they're going to get the outcome that they want.
Wow. That's so beautiful.
But the other important thing is that I remember many years, I'd known for many years that I was going to become a writer. It was something that was always a passion for me. I knew I wanted to be a HarperCollins author. And so I would go to all these psychics and they'd say, oh, no, we don't see you doing a book.
They didn't see you writing.
And then one day I just made a decision, I'm going to write. I'm going to do this. So I self-published my first book. And then on the second one, I ended up getting that deal. But sometimes people ask about publishing. Well, how do you do it? What do you do? I lined up all the publishers before I got the agent. I did it that way round. Just because I was so certain. But that was a 20-year journey.
Don't listen to all these psychics. Don't always.
I think
depending on who it is.
Let's say, for example, a psychic said, like in the instance where they said, oh, I don't see you doing a book. I remember my stomach, I just had this sinking feeling and I felt so disappointed.
Right.
And that was an indicator of, well, that's something in my mindset that is saying I can't be a published author. And then I just flipped the switch and went, yes, I can. I'm going to do it.
Brilliant. Well, I ask all my guests if they had to sum up their mission in one word, what would yours be?
My mission is to help people trust their intuition, to live fully within the depths of their soul so that they can experience fulfillment, love, happiness for themselves and to share that with others.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.